Andrew?
I'm a great believer in situational leadership. So your leadership style, and I'm sure that's exactly what Bernie and John said, your leadership style and what you do depends on the situation. And the situation we're in is you've got to be a lot faster, smarter, move quicker, be more visible, and be out there. You know, sometimes it's very nice to study a problem, get a report, send guys off, come back, have a meeting. There are other times where you just decide, oh, I've got sort of imperfect information, I'm just going to do this now. And we're in those sort of times now. In terms of remaining confident, every morning when you drive to work, you just got to jack yourself up and say, you know, exactly what Bernie said is if you catch a cold, the company gets pneumonia. And I'm always reminded of a story the one guy once told me that sort of epitomizes management in these times. If you can picture a perfectly smooth lake and this beautiful duck that's sort of gliding across the lake, and every feather's in place and it really looks happy, but meanwhile below the surface it's paddling like mad. So that's what today's all about.
Oh, there we go. Thinking about that duck and the work that's going on underneath, growth is the eternal issue. And there's a few examples that we've got to drill down to today. First and foremost, Bernie, I'd just like to ask you, you've got this kind of two thing happening where you've got the turnaround strategy in the retailer, and then you're stepping up to growth. And at the same time, early or sometime next year, you've got hopefully a float of the company. How are you trying to have those, in a way, conflicting?
Well, Narelle, would you like me to tell you exactly the day that we're going to IPO?
Could you do that?
And the price?
There's quite a few institutional and other analysts here today.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. But
within a week, you know, we're not fussy here.
But I think it is difficult because you, what I call, live for today and live for tomorrow. And so each decision is about what's going to keep us back on the turnaround strategy for the next sort of 6 to 8 months. And then alternatively, how do we prepare ourselves for the growth strategy? And to some extent, it's about how you structure and how you reward people. So you need a different mechanism of reward that simply says, if you turn the business around, you earn X. But you then have an apportionment and you slowly juxtapose the amount that's for each of those areas. And your time that you allocate and the mindset that you create is as much about the future for the first time. We spent the first 2.5 years just looking at what's tomorrow like and what our cash flow's like and what's our return like and what's yesterday's sales. We're now starting to look at, you know, the 15 new stores we're building, the changes taking place, the development of the internet, all our next stage of growth. And I think you can do that only when the metrics are right. I mean, building and expanding stores when your bottom line performance is shitty is the wrong way to go. You have to get the metrics right first and then press the trajectory button. So it's how you allocate your time, how you allocate the management time, and I think we're at a bit more of an enjoyable stage where we're moving from the dourness of turnaround and costs and getting the metrics right to now moving towards an expansive program that will see us hopefully create a much better business.
Second half of next year?
We have, we keep our IPO on a watching brief.
The guys at DJs will be really happy to hear that.
I was with a team of analysts last night and every one of them had a different opinion, which was really good. They're a bit like, I won't say that, but they've all got a different opinion. And I think the interesting part is that we'll just keep a watching brief on the market. There is, at the moment, there is an enormous amount of funds available. You look at some of the listings that have taken, look at some of the cash generations that have taken place, whether it be Rio Tinto or Asiana. There have been big money available, and so the money's in the market. It's whether the confidence is in the investors to buy in. And so we'll look almost on a day-to-day basis now to decide when we go back to market. And the second question is how much you leave on the table for the existing investor and how much you take off the table for the next investor. And for us, that's a difficult challenge as well. So ultimately, we're mainly owned by a group in Texas, and they're looking, without exaggerating, daily at what timing should be.
Okay. Now, also in the room today, the guys from Woolworths, and thank you very much for coming along. And I think, John, they might like to hear from you that if, well, my first question is, have you spotted Mike Luscombe in the power tool department at Bunnings recently?
We know he's a very regular shopper at our Norwest store. He's got 2 sons that are, I think both of them are chippies or something like that, so I think he's got a pretty good knowledge of what we do. That's fine, I'm happy to take his credit card.
Well, that's good. But if
Do you give him
Mike
points?
He doesn't get any points, okay. No points.
If Mike asked you for some advice in setting up a massive hardware rival, say, to Bunnings, what advice would you give him?
Oh, I think he doesn't need any advice from us. Firstly, I think a lot of people forget what Woolworths have got in Big W. It is a very successful discount department store format, and they model themselves, I think, pretty well off what Walmart are doing in the US. And we compete with Big W day in, day out, and they've got about $1 billion of home improvement already. So I just chuckle when I hear people saying Woolworths entering. They're already in, and they're a big player. So I think one of the things they'd be really wrestling with, if they are going to bring it out and try and have a go with a format that's a bit more separate to the discount department store, is how to manage that cannibalisation, because that will be quite significant on what they're achieving in Big W.
There seem to be the views amongst the analysts is that there's quite a lot of margin in there to be had if somebody does want to come in.
Yeah, I'd invite one of those analysts to go run a store and see how much margin they could get. Business isn't easy, and making a buck is a daily struggle, and you've got to do it in a way that you make the dollar today without impinging and hopefully helping your ability to make it again tomorrow.
So seriously, what are some of the challenges to and we'll come to you, Andrew, shortly, in terms of you need lots of footprint, getting sites is the challenge. What are the other major challenges?
Well, I think Me Too offers, around the world, in any retailing, Me Too offers have never succeeded. So I don't think if Woolworths are going to do something, it's a Me Too offer at all. It'll be something that, if they do something, it's a bit different. And the hardware industry, that's a very old name for it. It's home improvement and outdoor living. It's 36 billion plus in scale. It's highly fragmented. There's a lot of localised issues that are because of the history of Australia and different building codes and different climates. And there's a lot to play with. We compete with a vast number of organisations. One more or one less for us is not of great concern. Our focus is on having the best offer everywhere we run a store. And we focus very hard on that. And if there's a store near us that opens up that's new, we'll focus on that and give them a red hot go.
Good answer.